he's not here, so I wonder if something's come up. But Noelle has not been feeling too well recent, as she has not for a while. She's had lots of issues with asthma, as we've spoken about before, which at times worsens and at times struggles to talk. So that is how Noelle is feeling at the moment. So Noelle and Laura were talking about whether to join, and it sounds like Noelle had agreed to join on the basis that we think today's meeting could be quite brief, and we can just briefly go through what has happened and what's happening in the plan. And then Noelle has some health appointments, the dates which I can't remember off the top of my head, but she hopes that within a couple of weeks, once they're out of the way, and hopefully there's some more positive feelings about her healthcare plan, and one stressful thing sort of hopefully reducing in her life, we can have another meeting where hopefully Noelle feels a bit more able to talk. So Noelle, and then please use the chat box. Let me know if I've misinterpreted things. I will make a record of the meeting, so it is obviously super important that I've heard from you in one way or another. Just a thumbs up or thumbs down, or perhaps use the raise the hand button that I've just done there, and we can stop, because I want to, if I'm doing lots of the talking to represent the meeting, I want to make sure that even if it's brief, it's fair and accurate. Okay. So I think, Noelle, do you want to just give us a thumbs up? Do you remember Gideon, who's from the homeschool team, who was at the last conference? Just even with your hand on the screen, do you remember Gideon and his role? Great, thank you. And then Gideon, for your purpose, Noelle, I'm Noelle, the children's social worker, and then Laura is Noelle's sister. So the purpose of a core group meeting is to discuss the plan at hand, and we think about what's working well in the plan, and do we need to continue doing that? If there's things that aren't working too well, we think about what we can tweak and what we can change to make sure the plan is productive. Given the intro I've just said about Noelle's ability to sort of talk and engage in the meeting, it may just be a bit of a more simple meeting, and we go through some updates. And then if we're able to meet in a couple of weeks after the health appointments, that can be a bit more of a productive meeting where we talk in more detail maybe. What we could do as well, just sort of thinking aloud, is I will minute the meeting and make a record of it, which I'll send to you. Noelle, then you could perhaps write a response to that in a letter or an email maybe. I don't know how that sounds or how that feels, or through the use of Laura, or however you want to do so. But just to make sure your voice is certainly heard and attached to that as well. And Gideon, we'll come to you first. And I can see Noelle's typing, just one moment. Oh, stop typing. I don't know if that message. If I'm carrying on while you're trying to type, Noelle, just wave or something, and I'll stop. Now, Gideon, you'll update us best, but Gideon doesn't have an ongoing role with the family, but is it annually?
Yeah, once we complete a home education assessment and it's passed, we normally get in contact with the parent, normally annually, so the following year. It's only exceptional cases where there's things that we might consider or take into account where we might do a review a little bit early. It just depends on the situation.
Okay. Well, what sort of things lead to early reviews?
It's just because, like, it could be social care concerns. It could be that we agree that, okay, the home education is doing okay, but we would like to review it in maybe 6 months to see how things are progressing. Because we wouldn't want to, because if we leave it another year and then there's things going on, we don't want to leave it too long. before going back in. So we just look at the circumstances, the concerns, and then we kind of make our decision. But more case than ever, it's really rare, but it's normally annually.
Okay. Great, thank you. And then, so the purpose of having Gideon here then, the same as the GP, although Philip, because of the children's asthma, does see them a little bit more often perhaps, and good to have a medical overview. The purpose of inviting Gideon is that actually professionals hearing updates can be equally as important as what they have to share. So Gideon may not have met you, Noel, or the children for some time, and the assessment happened, I can't remember off the top of my head, X months ago, and was positive, which is great. But the point is that it's useful for all professionals involved in whatever capacity to hear updates, so that when they do then become involved, they're able to have the most full involvement and the most useful and positive involvement as possible. Okay. Okay. So I guess I won't talk too much, Noel, to your health, but what I'm feeling is that's probably the most important thing to you at the moment, and that's what's causing a lot of stress and worries for you, and of course impacting your day-to-day if it's impacting your ability to talk. But I won't go into detail on that because that's your information. What I will do is just pull up the child protection plan and go through that. I understand through Laura that you've not taken the children to the GP. So if Philip were here, he wouldn't have any more updates since the last review conference. So there's no new medical information for them. They have ongoing health concerns of their asthma, which Noel takes them to the hospital or the GP as and when needed. And that's sort of being managed well. And actually, when I was last at Noel's, you showed me those new boxes you have of how you're keeping your medication, and it seems like potentially there's a bit of a new system to help keep each of their needs measured better and under control better, which is really great. Romeo was there for an asthma check, but that's all. Okay. And was that just sort of a routine one and went okay, or was there new things that came up from that? Okay, great. It's routine. Sorry, I'm just sort of closing the tab to make notes and then popping up to also a bit slow myself. So I'll just make a note. Right. Let me pull up the plan then, and I will skim through the plan. The point as well, to make clear, when there's things that have been disagreed on, like, for example, in the last conference, there was lots of things that were disagreed on, the point of the plan, that the point here is not necessarily to go through old issues where we've had disagreements on before and thrash them out. The point of any child protection plan is to try and be productive about moving forward. So I realise I may say some things now that you disagree with, and realise that's then increasingly difficult when you're then not able to talk. But the point isn't to sort of go through them all in fine detail and come to a conclusion on each of those. Have you called Dad? That's one of the points of the plan. There's Philip. Hi, Philip.
Good morning. Sorry I'm late. Just a bit of an overlap with another meeting.
No worries. Yeah. Thanks for joining us. So I'll just give a brief overview of the meeting. The aim was to try and have quite a quick meeting today. Noelle's not been feeling well with her asthma and her health needs, and has some appointments coming up, so at the moment is struggling to talk. So like a previous meeting, she's using the chat box here to communicate. Noelle, sorry, I will get to your questions. Let me just introduce the meeting to Philip, and then I'll answer those questions. Sorry. So the point of today's meeting was to be like brief and productive to go through the plan. And then Noelle has some health appointments in a couple of weeks where we're hopefully going to be able to have a meeting where she feels a bit more able to engage and have potentially a more productive meeting moving forward. So I'm not sure if you remember everyone, Gideon was from the homeschooler team and Laura was Noelle's solicitor and me being the children's social worker, and then of course Noelle, mum for the children. So Noelle updated on the chat that Romeo has had an asthma appointment, but that was routine. So there's not, I don't know if you have any, start with you if you've got the children's information there, just if there's any change, any other appointments or anything different to the last meeting. Or perhaps, as Noelle was saying, she wants her questions answered first. We'll go to Noelle and then Philip, perhaps in the background you can find the health information and we can come to you at the end. So lots of the points you put there, Noelle, are all the points of the plan. So I can answer them through your questions first, if that's helpful to you. Have you called their dad? What was agreed at the last review conference was that for whatever reason, my phone doesn't connect to Dad's phone. The last time I visited you, you tried helpfully to call Dad while I was there, which was the agreed plan. He wasn't able to answer. We recognise the time zones are quite different, but we can keep trying that. I think that's the best plan to move forward. Yeah, exactly. There's time difference, so it's difficult. I mean, Noelle, if you're happy to, then you can help facilitate that call. You don't have to do that. You're right. It is our responsibility. We won't be able to come at 9 p.m. It will need to be within our working hours, which is then difficult. So perhaps if you are willing to facilitate them, okay. Well, we can leave it with me and I can keep trying.
Sorry to interrupt, but can I just ask, if there is a time zone difference, which means it's outside of your working hours, how will the call take place?
Well, what is the time difference for Turks and Caicos?
I'm just keen to move it forward because it seems it's been hanging for quite a while, and just in understanding, I understand what you're saying, your working hours are the working hours.
Yeah, well, it's minus 4 hours. So if I was to call them at 4 p.m, it would be midday there. So I think it would be appropriate for me to call during my working hours.
So you can do that with her, in which case when the next visit comes. So if that was agreed that Noelle try and make the call, and then Edward, let's say 4 o'clock, that might help with moving.
Okay, Noelle's saying 6 hours, not 4. I just Googled that. But even if it was 6, I could call at 4 or 5 and that would still be within his day. So we can try and work out a plan. Another contact could be useful. We could email, but the last plan at the last conference was set that I will speak with him when I'm with Noelle, and that was suggested and agreed as a fair plan. And then when we called last time, he didn't answer. So if Noelle's willing to facilitate, then you could perhaps pre-arrange that. But if not, then that's fine. It is our responsibility. We can continue trying, and we'll see where we get. But you're right. That has been part of the plan, and we've not been able to progress that. The other points of the plan. That was the first point there about contact with Dad, which we've just discussed. Mm-hmm. The other points. Did I read the documents? Yes, I've read the documents. We've had access to the documents. Noelle sent a long list of documents to us, some of which have been helpful and given an insight to Noelle's history. What I would also say to that is that one of the points that was discussed was sort of with Noelle creating a bit of a timeline and chronology of what's happened. And although the documents give insight to some of that, they don't, in my mind, give a very clear chronology. So that would still be something that I would like to achieve with Noelle. And to really think about the timeline of what's happened and go through, and we could piece together with a combination of the documents that we have on Children's Services file and documents within that Noelle shared, because from reading them myself, they didn't piece together a clear history. But that's a suggestion, Noelle. We're not going to force you to do that. We can't force you to do that. It's a suggestion of what we want to do. If you don't want to engage in that process, then that's fine. Okay? You've asked a couple of times what's the significant concern about the kids, and that is also what the next point of the plan is. And I guess this is what I was getting to about the point isn't necessarily of this meeting to revisit that in great detail, because I know we disagree on this, but the significant concern is around your mental health and how you've presented with professionals in the hospital, with social workers, with other people in the community, that's been ongoing throughout your children's services history. We worry about how that would impact the children's well-being and the mental health. That's the point of the plan, and that's the main reason that we're here, and that is the significant concern for the children. But what we have found in response to that, and another point of the plan to address, is sort of the ongoing visits with the children, is actually when the children are met by myself or other social workers, or they've, say, gone to see Philip, or I've spoken to the clubs, is that they're all incredibly lovely, really friendly, very polite children who haven't raised any worries or concerns, and aren't showing, I guess, the signs of the impact of what mum's mental health we would worry about, which is really positive, which is really a really positive thing. And we see lots of also lovely, warm, loving, affectionate interactions between mum and the children as well. Or actually, that's all I've seen as well, to be clear. That's really positive. So just going back to the plan. So one of the points was about mental health, which I've covered. One is about the social worker visits. The next one is about social worker visits every 10 days, which has been ongoing. And Noelle, thank you. You have accommodated those. The next one is around the children's health and them having to undertake regular health reviews with Philip. I know they had the first ones, which we spoke about at the last meeting. The main ongoing health concerns for the children is regarding the asthma, and Philip will come to you in a moment if you have any more updates. The next point of the plan is around engaging with the home education team, which, as we spoke about at the start of the meeting, Gideon's role is to do, and I'm just sort of repeating this in terms of the plan and for Philip to hear, Gideon's role is to complete annual home education assessments. He mentioned that at times, on rare occasions, they may complete them more frequently if there's a need. But I shared the importance of him being here is actually all professionals involved with family in any capacity. Philip is hearing what's happening is equally important, as when Gideon does re-engage, he would have understood the context, and that will help his work. So that's sort of the purpose there. And he might, I don't know, be able to share things of what he thinks about education as and when that comes up. And then the final point of the plan was about the children's extracurricular activities, and Noelle had consented to me speaking to all the clubs, which I've done. And then at the last conference. Noel consented to speaking to them again in time for the next review conference, so we can have an update from them as well. So there are all the points of the plan, which I realise I've gone through very quickly. Noel, I've just realised as well, I want to acknowledge that you've just sent through lots of messages here, which I've sort of ignored for the time being while I was finishing the plan and just reading myself now. Okay, I mean, I think it's really difficult to respond to these, Noel, through you writing and me talking in the meeting. I hope I've explained the purpose of the plan in real brief today. Stop sending new people to the home. What's happened is I was on leave last week, so different social workers have attended the home. One thing that comes up, Noel, that perhaps we can figure out a way of rectifying is that I know you like to communicate via email. However, what I find is that when I've emailed, we often don't hear back. So for example, I had emailed to update you on different social workers coming, and then the following week, when the different social workers were emailing to name their attendance, it seemed like a new plan. So we are trying to work with you and update you on things, but perhaps we need to find a way of making sure you are hearing these messages. And the reason they visited was the children, while on a child protection plan, need to be visited every 10 days because of statutory guidelines. And I was on leave. It will always typically be me. You've said a few times about your mental health. In brief, the worry is how quickly it seems that you become quite aggravated and at times incredibly rude and aggressive to people, and what that could mean to the children in the home and what the experience of being parented is and how mum is speaking with them. But as I said, in turn, what we see is actually the children aren't showing us signs of significant impact, which is positive. Okay, I mean, Noel, I'm conscious of wanting to keep the meeting brief, and Laura, I don't know if you have a view, wanting to keep the meeting brief for the purpose of going through the points of the plan, which I think I've done. I'm worried that we could continue in this pattern of me talking and Noel sending messages and not getting to a fair conclusion, because we've been through issues such as mental health before and we've not come to a fair conclusion or sort of a point in which we both agree on. So perhaps I'm thinking, Philip, if you can just update us, if you have any final updates about the children, but I guess particularly about Romeo's visit regarding his asthma, and then perhaps we could leave that as the end of the meeting. Noel, I don't know if you want to put in the chat about that, or Laura, if you have any views on ending the meeting then, if that's okay.
I think both are not feeling great today, and the ongoing concerns of their health, it might be better to keep things succinct.
Yeah.
But obviously that's subject to her input, so I just need to be clear about what her feeling is.
Is that okay then with you, Noel? Thanks, Laura, by the way. If we just hear from Philip finally, and then we'll end the meeting.
Hi, yeah. Romeo went to see the consultant. The consultant was very happy with his chest. He did some spirometry following that, and the consultant sent a letter saying it was normal. So his asthma essentially is under perfect control. Has a follow-up appointment next January. I did also see King because there were concerns about his breathing, and the examination was in fact normal. He's been doing some peak flows, and I did do a referral to to the same consultant for an opinion about his chest as well. And he's also I think we probably put him on some inhalers because there was a further discussion with a specialist. We had an MDT, and that was the plan. So I think someone will be in contact with that. I'll just have to...
So he's not got the inhaler yet, that's just the plan, is it?
That's just the plan, yes.
Okay, great. So when do you think he'll be able to get the inhalers?
I should think I can do that now. Get them tomorrow.
Okay, great. I assume I'll have to collect them.
Yeah.
And get posted. Okay, great. Thank you, Philip. Unless there's anything else for you to add.
I think that's everything really. Everything's going very well from health perspective and appointment attendance and everything. Yeah, no problem.
Great. Okay, so Noelle, I've just skimming through those messages. I'm not sure if I've seen one, but are you happy for the meeting to come to an end now then? Okay. Well, thanks everyone for coming. I will write up the minutes and send them out to you. Noelle, obviously, as we said, if it's useful, you can write a bit of a response to that. But why don't we, while we're all here actually, finally and quickly, Laura, was it the 20th, from the 20th, that was an appropriate time to...
The next meeting, because that was the medical appointments that Noelle had.
Great.
Can I just suggest slightly, I just want to manage the situation that we've got going on at the moment, because obviously Noelle is getting increasingly frustrated as is becoming evident on the text. And at some point to be picked up that there must be some discussion about how best to facilitate that being an improved relationship, shall we say, in terms of the that's happening from both sides here, because I am concerned that she is getting very stressed about having such a high level of involvement as a child protection plan has. And the best way to manage that going forward, there needs to be some kind of conversation, hopefully, between the two of you, I think, in terms of how best.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I think, the last time I visited, I left feeling that actually we probably had the most pleasant and friendly conversation we have throughout my time working with you. I left feeling really positive. We did try to call Dad, but we were just having conversations about lots of different things, not necessarily targeting things such as mental health, but we were having really nice conversations, and I left feeling quite positive that actually we're in a place where we were able to talk a bit more productively with one another. I know since then other social workers visited, and it sounds like that was difficult, and then obviously today's meeting is difficult. So I don't know, perhaps the next time I visit, the focus could be on how we communicate. But yeah, I don't know, Laura, if you think that's an appropriate idea. That could be the sole focus of visiting next time, which is on Tuesday the 6th. Tuesday the 6th.
I think from the and I don't have too much time now because I'm conscious of the meeting wrapping up. But I think in terms of the input with social workers that Noelle has had to date, as you'll have probably seen from the paperwork, there's a bit of a history in terms of how that has been. And obviously I appreciate that's difficult for you because you are then picking up that situation after a long set of events that have been not necessarily positive experiences. But I just think in some respects if there could be some agreed way of communicating to acknowledge that, to try and move things forward, that could probably be helpful. But I think that would be something that could be picked up, as you say, when you next speak with Noelle in one of your meetings.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay.
Yeah. Forward, yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I'll make a note of that, and that can be focus of next time. Okay. All right. Thanks, Laura. That's helpful. Okay. Well, should we? I don't know if I suggest a date of the 20. I can't do the 20th itself, but the 21st. We could meet. Say at 2 p.m. online. I don't know if that works for everyone here.
I can do that. I don't know about Noelle. Can you do that, Noelle?
That's fine.
Which month are we talking about?
Sorry, August. Oh, so that's fine. Great. So just say, Gideon, does that work for you?
Yeah, I'm just checking now because I'm off on the 22nd, I believe. It's on a Wednesday. I believe that should be okay.
Great. And Philip?
I think if it's morning, that's okay. I think. You say 2 o'clock? Did you?
Yes.
I mean, I've got a whole clinic booked from 2.
Okay. Would 1 work? Or 12:30?
I will have an MDT at 12:45 on that day.
Okay. Or we could do.
No, I probably won't be contributing a great deal by then. I don't think.
It is useful to still have you.
Yeah.
The 22nd, maybe at 1 o'clock.
I can't do the 22nd.
It's difficult for Gideon, yeah.
Oh, yeah, sorry.
I mean, at 12:30, I could.
If we did 12:30 and you could give your update,
yeah,
would be, if that works briefly. So we're going to say 12:30 at the 21st of August. I'll send out invites shortly for a Teams meeting. So 12:30, I'm just making a note myself. 21st of August. MS Teams. So I'll send those invites out shortly. Okay. Right. Well, thanks everyone for attending. And Noelle, I'm sorry that the meetings are stressful for you. It is an unfortunate part of the process that we do need to have them and review the plan. Hopefully your health appointments in the next couple of weeks are positive, and by that time you're feeling a bit more able to verbally communicate, or maybe we've worked out a different way to communicate by then. Okay, but I'll end the call now then. So thanks everyone for attending.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye bye.